Today, I want to share with you my impressions about Ghana and Africa in general. What astonished me so much, what surprised, and what shocked. Let's dive into the video. You know, for any person who arrives to Africa for the first time, there are certain expectations. Those expectations are built up completely by the media. That is the only exposure we all have. Just like Africans traveling to Europe expect everything to be very good, Europeans traveling to Africa expect everything to be very bad. Because the pictures we usually see on the media are hungry children, no food, water, desert-like surrounding, no proper houses. In fact, till now, some people think that people in Africa live on trees. Can you imagine that? Of course, like in any country of the world, you have poor people, middle class, and rich people. There is no country where you see only rich or only poor. So true is of Africa as well. My first beggar encounter was a beggar approached me with 2 bowls of kenke on his plate. Kenke, that is some local carbohydrate made out of maize. Big bowls of kenke, which to me is lots of food. Yet he asked that he still wants some protein, some fish or meat. I said, wow, a beggar with a choice. Then Africa is not so simple as we used to think. So you expect there should be better life somewhere. You don't expect everybody to be a beggar. So day by day, it really happened that all my prejudices built up by the media have disappeared. And I have seen absolutely different life. And in some instances, I have noticed people live even better than so-called civilized world. How so? Let me explain that. Any human requires what? Some shelter to live in and food and clothing. So let's talk about those categories first. Concerning houses, even very poor people can afford to have their own property. Notice that there are no mortgages here, and therefore every house you will see, it is owned by people. It has been built by their own cash or own strength. There are no years payment of mortgages here. Amazing, right? What about hunger? You know, in most of the countries in the world, you have different seasons: summer, autumn, winter, and spring. And it is only during the summertime that they can harvest something. Whilst the rest of the period, they cannot afford to grow their own food. Whilst here in Ghana, it is possible throughout the year. Can you imagine that? So different regions of Ghana have different rainfall patterns, and therefore you can always get fresh vegetables throughout the year right from the farm. So how is it possible that people should be hungry? I live in the rural area, and therefore, as you see, we have so much green farms around. As a person who stayed in Ghana for a long time, I can recognize various crops just by its sight. I can see that these are granules. Do you see these green granules? And this is maize. And this is okra. And these are the beans leaves. In fact, we use these beans leaves as green leafy vegetables, even before we'll get the beans itself. And you know what? You always see happy people around. It doesn't matter whether they are poor, middle class, or rich. Everybody is smiling, greeting. It is so important for human health. And I can see they're practicing it here. As we started talking about humans, their relationships, I can say that I was surprised how they bring up children. First of all, they are taught basic hygiene. It doesn't matter if you're a very poor person, you always see early morning children going to fetch water so that they can have their morning bath before going to school and evening bath before going to bed. It is a must to have 2 baths a day, something I did not expect from Africans, but it is very normal for them. They are surprised that we are shocked at the basic things. We, European people. The other interesting point is that elderly people are taken care of within a family. And family here is recognized to be any relative at any distance. That's why they have definition of extended family. So it is not just your immediate children. It can be children of your brothers, sisters, and so on. People live pretty long. Another shock, right? I never seen in my place coming from Ukraine anybody who passed 100 years of age. But I see so many cases here, people living to 110 and so on. Even my son's-in-law grandfather lived, up to which age? 112 years. Something unbelievable in the civilized world. Those cases are just unique, and usually they announce them throughout the media. But in Africa, people live their quiet life, surviving passing the 100 years mile. Can you imagine that as well? What a shock to me. Very often they talk about uneducated or illiterate Africa. I can say that is thing of the past. Well, almost. Because in the modern time, schools, basic schools are free. At least you can get access to education very easily if you want to. But I have to mention that universities, yes, you have to pay the fees for universities. And yet people do pay because majority of young people, even poor ones, go to university provided they have passed the exam. If you are poor, you still find somebody within your relatives who can pay your school fees. What is important is to be qualified to enter the university, to pass your exams. And usually they send children to school right from 2 years of age. Not compulsory though. Compulsory is from 4 years of age. But majority of the parents send their children at 2. And you'll be surprised that even at that age, 2 or 3 years old, children write their exams. I was always wondering what kind of exams. Just look at this girl. There is this trend going on in Africa that generally young people, the school leavers, want to go to university rather than to acquire some working profession. Why? Because salaries, those people with higher education are set higher. But I want to add, there are no jobs now for the higher education. There are too many in the system. Young people after finishing university are not getting jobs. They even created so-called union unemployed graduates. They are searching for jobs for so many years. So after some years, people change their profession, and only few will get the job of their dream. But majority will do something else. Some will go into business, some will pursue another degree, hoping that with a higher degree, upgrading from bachelor to master's, you can get a job and still to no avail. That is the situation in Africa. The jobs are not available for that number of qualified people. And that can be the major reason why people till now still want to go abroad. Because if you can get a job in Ghana, there is no need to go somewhere. Life here will be more affordable than anywhere in Europe or America. So having employment like millions of people in Ghana, I do not have plans to go somewhere else. I'm content with whatever I have, and I am happy to have so many friends here who has made their life here in Ghana and do not plan to go anywhere. Well, perhaps some of these impressions about Africa, my impressions, my perception of Africa, might have triggered some of your thoughts as well. So if you have something to share with us, kindly share it in the comment section. I'm happy to answer any question of yours. And till we meet again, it's bye-bye from me and my channel, My Home Africa. See you next time.
I've been crying.